Alrighty.
What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. WWE Crown Jewel 2022 just ended a minute ago, so we're going to run that down, tell you what happened, tell you our thoughts on all the matches, and everything else we normally do here. I am Tony Mango. I'm here with Robert E. Felice.
Hello.
And nobody in the chat right now. You know, it's not something normally that we do is midday Pay-Per-Viewpoint post shows, but that's what happens when you get the Saudi Arabia thing. The time zone difference does make things a little different, but hopefully we'll get some people funneling in here and there. And if you do tune in, or you are one of the couple or so people that are listening right now, make sure you chat it up in the chat right there. I see Carrie is here. What's up, Carrie? And, you know, everybody else, Josh is popping up as well. Jake Paul versus Solo, sad face. Yeah, you know, keep in mind, we want to know what you guys have to say. So even if you're listening to this after the fact, drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you're over here on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, hit the join button, which gets you access to the same things as the Patreon, patreon.com/smarkoutmoment. You'll see the Darkcast tier, the Pick Your Poison tier, or even the $1 a month tier to help us out. If you want to look through the other Marketplace stuff, let me just get that out of the way while we're doing this. You got the Redbubble and TeePublic options for the merchandise stuff. And if you have that little thanks button that's popping up on there and you want to just toss a little spare change our way, that is another great way of doing that and just showing that you support us and that you want us to keep doing more content in the future, because the more support we get, the more we can do. So let's get into the pay-per-view point side of this stuff and start talking about this. I see Peter's popping up as well. Thank you to everybody who is listening to this, as always. Rob, first question I have for you. How you feeling?
Fine. It was a fine show on a Saturday afternoon. It wasn't groundbreaking, but wasn't nearly offensive, quite frankly. And a lot of the credit here goes to the fans. But these Saudi shows are becoming some of the most genuinely entertaining, into like, it's a throwback into like the Hogan era, in the sense that the crowd's just hot no matter what you throw at them.
Yeah, I mean, every match I think in this, I don't remember one that didn't get a "this is awesome" chant. So they were like starved for it.
Like a Tower of Doom spot, which I hate because I see them in literally every match involving more than two people, got a "this is awesome" chant. And I just like, you can't be mad when the audience is having the time of their lives. And it does make the show better for the home viewer.
It certainly does. But I still have my issues. So you'll hear maybe some differing opinions, depending on if Rob is more on the positive side. I didn't hate this event by, you know, like previous Crown Jewel means or whatever, but there are elements of it that made me feel like, you know, I really hate to repeat myself a million times, because the biggest criticism I have is repeating yourself is so frustrating. But hey, when you rinse and repeat a lot of the things, then we get the same discussion points. But see in the John in the chat, hey, is Rob's audio fixed? Yeah, we fixed that the other day. It was a Skype issue more than a microphone thing.
Issue, not a me issue. Thank God.
Yeah, so if anybody ever has issues like that, double check that your Skype is not automatically adjusting the microphone volume. So if we run into any issues, let us know as per usual, but we should be good. Carrie says, "'Twas an okay show. Don't understand what they're doing with the Raw Women's division." We're definitely going to talk about that.
That's going to be the one where I'm salty and Tony's just going to be like, "I told you."
Marquise, that's the one thing. No, it's going to be more than one. Marquise says, "I mean, meh." So let's start getting into this.
That kind of fits the overall vibe, because again, it was a good show, but man, it was a paid for show. Like, you didn't get Seth Rollins, you didn't get a lot of stars, but you did get the match that kicked off the show, and that's Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, the pre-show, for anybody that missed it, you didn't miss anything. It was just talking.
They were just talking, yeah.
The only thing I noticed then I wrote down on the pre-show was we got at the beginning of this, we got our first look at the set. And I was like, oh, set looks really good. That big, crown. I liked it. But we started off with Bobby Lashley in the ring, and then 10 minutes worth of a promo, and then Brock Lesnar coming out. So this match started at 12:14.
I was very mad at that, but that's
me too.
Because
I was just like, we just spent an hour on this. Like, come on. But this is one of those things that I'm seeing a big split between. And I understand both points of view. So it's going to sound like I'm not making as much of a judgment call as I normally would, but I think it's because there's gray areas and everything. So one side of the fence seems to be going, oh, this is great. It was so fun to see them just have a quick thing. They did a couple things. It ended with a finish that I didn't see coming, and I can't wait to see the match. And then the other criticism is, and I think that this is where I lean a little bit more towards, what do you mean you can't wait to see the match? This was supposed to be the match. My God, we just already had the whole thing with January and with February, and we just got back to this again so that they can say, wait, and we'll do it again in the future, and you'll actually get to see the match.
So, I don't care about either one of those takes. The biggest takeaway I had from this match was, fuck, Brock really likes Bobby because he won't just beat Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
He refuses to just F5 the motherfucker and beat him. So he must really like Bobby Lashley. Because I've never seen in this run of Lesnar, Brock Lesnar win by what was essentially a roll-up.
Yeah, for anybody who missed it, what he did was they did the obligatory spot that they do in every single Brock Lesnar match where he gets speared through the barricade. That's the way that they started off. Seems like it's kind of 50-50. You flip a coin. Does that start the match off or does it happen midway through? So they started it that way. After a few power moves, the Hurt Lock gets put on and Lesnar falls backward and pins Lashley with a pretty bad pinfall in a way that his shoulders aren't really fully down the entire time. So that wasn't great. And then
Lesnar's kind of big. I don't know if he could do the full, how like they usually get their legs up over their head kind of thing when they're putting them down.
I highlight out that he could. But I mean, Lesnar's pulled off other feats in the past. Maybe I shouldn't count him out for that. But this was a little bit clunky. And then since he catches him like that, Lashley's all mad. So Lashley puts the Hurt Lock back on him. And the story that they basically are telling is, yeah, copy and paste, wait, we're going to come back to this another time. And then they're going to have the real match, which the match is probably going to be the same as what we've seen before, where it's like, okay, they're going to spear him through the barricade and then they're going to do the Hurt Lock and then he's going to hit some German suplexes and whatever. I don't ever like the idea of this, like, you dangle the carrot, you pull it away, you dangle it, you pull it away, you dangle it, you pull it away, and then eventually when you get it, you go, that carrot was overcooked. If these matches turned out to be as good as they seem like they would, then sometimes it wouldn't be bothersome. But, I mean, this is the fourth match that they should have had, and it's still not the match. Come on.
I'm a little worried about how you're cooking your carrots, first of all.
You saute them in a pan with butter and this vegetable seasoning that I like from McCormick and pepper.
All right.
That's the best way to make them. Nobody boils carrots and that's
I know
out good.
What you're going for when you say it should have been the fourth match, but I need you to realize the reality is this is just the second match they've had.
But that's because they keep dangling the carrot and pulling it away, and it's like, but you still have to watch the 4 weeks worth of, you're gonna get the match, you're gonna be, we got you, and it, like, that's what I hate sitting through. And we're gonna just put this on pause again, and then it's gonna come back, and it's that pause and then repeat, because in the future it's probably gonna be a Mania, most likely.
What if they, like, first of all, I'll say this, I wouldn't entirely be surprised if they just didn't do the match. But, like, it could happen at Survivor Series. Survivor Series is a big show. Maybe they're like, you know what? Brock, stick around. We want you for Survivor Series.
If they just go ahead and do it at Survivor Series, I'll be less annoyed. But I'll still be like, man, I got to wait another 3 weeks worth of, Brock, that wasn't the real end of the match. I really want to fight you again. And go, I know. You talked about it for 5 weeks. Like, come on. I don't like these the spots between these pay-per-views being stretched out so much where they just keep I'm going to repeat this line about 3 other feuds where they just kind of go, yeah, but we got to wait. And like, I'm totally fine with waiting and having delayed gratification if it pulls it off. But when WWE just goes, but we don't have anything else and we need to really just kind of stretch it. And I'm like, I didn't need to see Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar happen here. If you wanted to do it at Mania, you could have waited until March. And then you could have heated it up. Now I feel like you're perpetually putting it in the microwave and it's getting lukewarm and then it's getting wilted and wilted and wilted. I did. I had some potato leek soup.
Jeez, I'm like, what's the food analogy?
I'm hungry right now. I ate like 5.5 hours ago. I'm hungry. In the chat, in the widest words of Donald Loke, fuck cooked carrots. You gotta give me a little bit of
context on that.
I have no idea who Donald Loke is or why he doesn't like carrots. I don't know.
So look, I'm fine with this. I was so genuinely surprised that Brock won with a roll up that I was like, okay, you threw me off guard. I did not see Brock winning and then Bobby getting his heat back and then Brock again not just being able to beat Lashley. So it feels like that's where they're going, but you can't say Brock just wants to squash everybody.
Yeah, I'll give them credit for this.
I took away.
I'll give them credit for this. They didn't end it with, and he hits an F5 and he wins. So at least if they're going to just continue it and just go, do it again, do it again, do it again, at least this was a better finish than we've gotten in the past. I mean, it wasn't the best finish. I still think that I would have liked a multitude of different ways that they could have done this instead, like maybe just doing the match and having that be the end of it and then not repeating it again. But if they're going to just say, it's not the real thing, hold on, we'll do it again, not doing the Kimura lock finish or having, he hits him with 5 German suplexes and then 2 F5s and wins. At least there's more of a reason for Lashley to be like, that was a cheap finish. F you. But I'm curious even more so than anything, because I really, at this point, I'm like, all right, either they're going to have a match where I don't need to watch anything until the bell rings the next time. And I might actually go ahead and skip that in the future on episodes of Raw when they go back to the same Lashley struggling to cut a promo about how he wants to be Brock. I might just not even bother to tune in for it. And then, Brock Lesnar rule it and then go, okay, is the match going to be worth it? But I'm more curious than anything if this is going to lead to a Lashley heel turn.
It kind of felt that way, didn't it?
Because he was being a spoiled brat kind of at the end. Like, yeah, you could be mad. But typically when somebody attacks somebody afterward like that, it's usually because they're going to go on this like, okay, now I'm upset and I'm going to go on a rampage thing.
But like, because it's Brock, you can go on a rampage and not have it be that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brock's perpetually in that like tweener range. I mean, he's either full heel or he's tweener. He's very rarely ever babyface, and he just got out of being a babyface and then attacked Lashley. So it's kind of, I can understand why Lashley's upset, But yeah, I'm just kind of, I feel like I didn't get the actual thing, and I can't be super positive about. I can't say false advertisement. That's too much because it's like, yeah, you technically did do a match.
Yeah, I don't know why you're harping on the fact that like they didn't do the match. This was a match.
They just did it half-assed, and they did the cop out.
Cop out, definitely. I wouldn't say half-assed. I think this is about as standard of Brock Lesnar match as you get these days. Like
your dad in the chat and the heel turn for Lashley. I thought it was funny to read your dad. It's just your username.
I don't think this is a heel turn for Lashley just because it's Brock. But like, who knows?
It all kind of depends on what they plan on doing with some of the other people in the future, because we all assumed that Lashley would be a very easy person for Roman Reigns to fight, and they just never did it.
I have a theory. I think so. I feel like Roman might end up fighting Gunther at the Rumble and then take your pick of Kevin or Sammy at
Elimination Chamber.
And then whomever they have for Mania. Because, by the way, I'm taking the stance. I'm not saying it's The Rock until I see Dwayne Johnson on television. Because I think we're all getting way too, well, it's clearly The Rock, right? And then if they don't do it, we're all just going to be sitting there like, what do they do now? So I'm taking the stance of I will no longer assume it's The Rock until I see him on TV.
I will maintain the stance of if it's not The Rock, those motherfuckers need to be telling us that it's not going to be The Rock because they know everybody thinks it's The Rock.
Were you on your honeymoon for last year's Survivor Series, or did you watch that?
No, I was gone for Full Gear.
Okay, you were gone for Full Gear, but you saw that all Survivor Series, it was literally like Rock's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding.
Right.
Here's an egg. Like,
yeah, so if they do that again and then they have people upset, they have nobody to blame but themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Like Frankie says in the chat, if it's not The Rock, it has to be Cody Rhodes.
But they could do that because Cody Rhodes can just win the Royal Rumble.
Right. And I would be totally fine with that if that's the case. And then they end up just... I mean, I wouldn't be totally fine with that in the sense that, God damn it, guys, you've been saying for like 5 years that it's going to be The Rock versus Roman Reigns at Hollywood, basically. And then the pandemic threw it off for another year, and then this happens, and that happens, and what do you mean you couldn't figure it out, you know? But at least if the compensation for it is Cody wins the title, then I'm okay with it. If it ends up being anything else other than that, despite the fact that, you know, I'm a huge Kevin Owens fan, for instance, if it was like Kevin Owens against Roman Reigns, and they just kind of repeat that, then I'm like, all right, put the handcuffs back on. This is ridiculous. I guess the only other thing I could be okay with would be Sami Zayn.
The only issue I have with Sami Zayn is that's a fine moment, but Sami isn't about to carry the company. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a cool moment and a fun storyline payoff. Like, Sami Zayn would make for a good Mick Foley title win. You know how The Rock lost the belt to Mick Foley along the way to WrestleMania and then still won it back like 2 more times and had the cool payoff with Steve? I wish they'd be able to do that kind of booking, which, to transition back into the show, is exactly why I'm not mad that we have, yet again, new women's tag team champions.
And I am not a fan of this for a few reasons. First off, I didn't like backstage that they show Alexa Bliss get distracted with the Bray Wyatt logo because I'm like, no, let's move on from that. I don't want that.
I told you. I saw that happen on screen. I messaged Tony. Yeah, I bet you're thrilled about that, aren't you?
Because it's like, you know, we didn't get anything good with that. Don't go back.
But, you know, like, you gotta do something with it because, damn it fucked everybody up. Like, you can't just go, all right, look, I know that this angle shot us all in the foot, but we're going to ignore the flesh wound and try to move on. You got to try to address that wound.
I think that they did enough to move on. They did the whole dumb therapy thing, and that was terrible. Then they moved on from that, and she's not carrying the doll around anymore. Just you put it to bed.
The doll is in her entrance every week. What are you talking about?
Let sleeping dogs lie, you know? But we get basically what was expected here. They put the titles on Alexa Bliss and Asuka so that they can lose it 5 days later. And they can just be like, okay, well, we don't have any real steam going for this feud. This has lost momentum like crazy. This feud's been going on for months. And we have to continue to do something for the next few weeks because we got that War Games thing coming up. So let's do a hot potato. They win the titles. They lose them back. There you go. And it's exactly the same as we've seen before. And to use that microwave analogy of like lukewarm reheating and not actually, you know, keeping the consistency, this doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't make me think, damage control, you jerks. I can't wait to see Bliss and Asuka and Bianca Belair beat you all up. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, well, I like it because I'm a fan of shorter title runs right now. The women's tag team titles are dead. They were long dead before Sasha and Naomi walked out. They're dead. So it's Like, if you can use that to show we're not afraid of hot potatoing and not everything needs to be a 797-day title reign, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and that's where I think that the nuance of the argument comes in, where a lot of people, and they do this with everything. I mean, I'll talk about it when we come to the Bray Wyatt thing. People go, if you don't like this, you must not like, and then they jump to the extreme thing.
Nope.
And
we'll get to it.
I don't think every title reign needs to be a year long. But I looked at for this one, and this is kind of jumping ahead for a month and a half until we get to the end of the year awards. I was like, you know what? There have been way too many title reigns this year that they did 50-50. It's either it's gone on forever, and some of those are really great. Like, I do not think that the Bloodline should lose those belts just for the sake of losing them. I think that they should lose to the right people. So if the Usos beat that record for the New Day, even though I'd rather the New Day keep it, it might be for the best in the long run. But then they do the opposite, and then they go, yeah, but then we've had too many of these long title reigns, so let's have the Solo Sikoa thing. And let's have, in particular, the women's tag team titles on NXT and WWE are just like, they do not matter. You might as well, like, you know, you ever see Naked Gun?
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines in this, or sequences in this movie, and it cracks me up to the end of the day, is when he's trying to get the guy to tell him some information. So he hands him, he's like, my memory's a little hazy. So he hands him a $20 bill. And then he's like, does this jog your memory? And he's like, I don't know, it's still a little hazy. So he hands him another 20. And then the guy goes like, yeah, you know, I think I saw the guy. And he goes, why are you asking? Oh, I can't tell you. Oh, maybe this will make it. So he gives him the $20 back. And then he gives him another thing. And it ends up being that Frank ends up getting an extra 20 instead of paying the guy off. Fucking amazing movie. I love it. But that to me feels like you're just trading back and forth in a way that like is very cheap. Like, I'm okay with trading a title back and forth if it's telling a good story. But it's very clear they weren't telling a good story here. They were just going, title change will be interesting, and then another title change. How about that? And if you missed this whole week's worth of television,
you didn't know. You
didn't miss a goddamn thing when it comes to that, because it started with Damage Control and it ends with them. So you put the belts on Bliss and Asuka.
What? In fairness, how often was that just a thing? You know, there's plenty of title reigns like that. Some of them, like I've said, are people like Mick Foley.
Right.
I'm not saying like this is a great angle. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I'm perfectly fine with this. Like, yeah, it creates the excuse of, hey, did you know that Damage Control are the first women to ever win a title in Saudi Arabia? That's the thing now.
A lot of on paper things. Like Asuka technically is a 3-time tag team champion now with Alexa Bliss, and then that became a whole, like, you know, winning with different people. Asuka did that. That's the first time ever. But, you know, the on paper stuff like that, it gets lost in translation a lot of the time. And that's when you get people that go, former WWE champion Jinder Mahal. Yeah. What's it mean? So I look at that as like, if, for instance, Dakota Kai and Io Sky had won the tournament and they kept those titles up until they did this little hot potato thing, I wouldn't have minded as much. Because then it becomes, okay, they've been holding it for a while, and then they drop it and they win it back, and that proves their dominance. But you gave the belts to Raquel and Aaliyah just so that they could drop them, and then you switched them just so you could drop them. Like, you're really treating it like that prop thing that used to be in the Attitude Era, which for the past bunch of years, that was one of the big criticisms of the Attitude Era. People would be like, remember how those title reigns didn't matter and everything? And Josh in the chat says, I guess you could say damage control is damaged goods. It's kind of a good line.
Oh, well, we're not there yet. We're going to talk about the other women's match on the show.
Frankie says it's going to be Damage Control, Nikki against Bianca, Alexa, Asuka, and one person at War Games. Right. Dakota is a legit 4-time tag team champion, and combined days have been just about over a month.
That's very Mick Foley. I can say is very Mick Foley.
Let's see what else we got. Emilio, Michael Kept was so off. Oh, okay. Michael Cole, I guess it's just typo. Was so off about his facts during the match. First, he said Alexa was the first SmackDown Women's Champion. Yeah, that would have been Becky Lynch. And then he said Io was the inaugural Mae Young Classic winner. He did? Huh. Wait. Who was
she not? She was. No, it was Kairi.
Kairi won that, and then it was
Kairi beat Shayna.
Tony, right?
Yes.
And they only did the two of them? I'm blanking on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And you talk back in the day when Raquel Rodriguez was Reina Gonzalez and stuff. Josh asks, what would be your ideal opponents for Damage Control at WrestleMania? My pick is Banks and Naomi. I would lean towards, I think you need to have a 6-woman tag for the titles. And you need to just kind of freebird rule it. You need Bayley and Dakota and Io against 3 people. That cannot be these
concept.
people.
I've never seen this concept in execution, but this is the second time this week you're bringing up the idea of defending tag titles in a 6-way.
I am?
Yeah, you brought it up with the Usos and Solo.
Oh, yeah, they should do it. Why not? Banks and Naomi, and maybe Becky? And with that, I don't know.
You don't put these women in a tag.
Oh, wait, Becky's got to do the whole round of bullshit. Stop yeah. I forgot that they got to do that crap and do that all over again. What if you trade a title to fulfill a dream, like if Corey won the IC title and dropped it 5 days later? That stuff, sometimes that's where I like it better. That's where I don't mind like a short title reign here and there. But I don't like the mercy pull of it. Because it's very clear they did this because they don't have anything going towards War Games.
I think it's fine. I think it's just a way of establishing that, hey, we're going to do crazy quick title switches sometimes.
And for the argument, too, that some people will say that keeps it to where it's not as predictable. Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that how many people would have really thought, hey, the title's going to change hands 2 times in the span of 6 days. But it's also predictable in the sense that on 5 different things I wrote up, yeah, the title's just going to change hands again at Crown Jewel because it's a hot potato. So it gets predictable and it gets not predictable.
It's predictable now, but if they consistently make it to where at any point titles can change hands, you won't know.
They got to do a lot of heavy lifting and they have to make it better for me to be on board with it. Because now I'm just like, okay, well, we're back to where we were last Monday. And I just happened to have type out a couple more title reigns. That's it. The match itself had some good spots, had some meh.
Saudi Arabia loved it.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome chant for it. So,
look, I love the gear. I want to shout out the gear.
Very happy that they did not just do the t-shirt thing.
Between this and Elimination Chamber, I think the women are finding their footing in Saudi Arabia in terms of like just being able to wrestle there, and it's as normal as can be in Saudi Arabia, you know. Yeah, look, I think it's good. I think the match was fine. I kind of want the baby faces away from this now. Like the random Asuka and Bliss. And I'm not crazy about that pairing. So like I'm hopeful that it's just going to change soon.
Well, you still got like, 3 weeks until Survivor Series?
Yeah, but I can live through that. I'm talking about after. It
has to be done at War Games. This cannot continue into December, January, and be like...
For whatever it's worth, I don't even think Bloodline, sorry. I don't even think Damage Control should go into War Games. That's my personal opinion, because what the fuck do you need to go into War Games for when a certain someone can't even win matches?
We'll come back around to that, yeah. Steel Cage match was next. Drew McIntyre beats Karrion Kross. I thought it was interesting that Peyton pointed this out in the Mega Maniacs too, that when they were doing the drone light show for Kross and Scarlett, that they just sort of stopped and watched it and started smiling. Broke character for a minute of just like, ooh, pretty lights. Okay, wait, you're supposed to be healed. And some good spots here and there. You got a superplex off the top of the cage, and some near fall type finishes that you could get in steel cage matches where like McIntyre's trying to go through the door and Scarlett maces him and all. And it ended in a good way, I thought. McIntyre escapes by climbing over the cage, and Scarlett had locked the cage door and took too long to reopen it for Kross. So Kross loses, but he doesn't take a pinfall. I like it.
Yeah, I bet it was good. You know, fun match. Fun steel cage match on a pay-per-view. Oh, not a rarity per se, but well, you know, just a fun gimmick match. It was fine. I don't necessarily need to see this ever again, but you know, fine.
I think that this should be the end.
But it can't. Then I go, well, they're 1-1.
I mean, maybe they come back around to it in like some kind of a gimmick match in December. You know, maybe they kind of do like a. Because I'm assuming that Drew McIntyre is going to be. It might not be the case too. I'm assuming that he's going to be against Bloodline in the War Games match. But if that's not, I would assume as well. If that's not what their game plan is, and they've got other people involved, then maybe they finish this off at Survivor Series.
They could. I'm actually really excited for the Survivor Series card because we're not doing the stupid Raw versus SmackDown shit. I'm excited to see what they put together, what combinations, how many tag team matches will there be.
They did confirm one thing tonight. It's 5-on-5.
Yeah.
So,
which is good.
For anybody who was wondering that it could have been potentially 4-on-4, not the case. Or at least they did say that for one thing. Maybe they end up pulling some weird thing where it's like, all right, it's 4-on-4, then 5-on-5, but I doubt it.
And then it's 5-on-5, and then this one is 3-on-3 because I have no idea what they're doing for that women's War Games, but we'll get there.
I am assuming it is going to be the three members of Damage Control, Nikki Cross, and possibly Rhea Ripley against the three that we've normally seen: Bianca, Alexa, Asuka, Raquel, and Candice.
Okay, you know, Candice will be fun.
That's what I think. But you know, Shotzi's been in there, Aaliyah's been in there, and they could just, you know, have Becky Lynch potentially come back.
Stop it, they're not putting Aaliyah in there.
No, they're not probably going to. And she's still injured, but, you know, yeah, I didn't expect her to be a tag team champion this year. So I think maybe the idea of Becky coming back is the thing that it's kind of hinging on, because obviously if she comes in, it's a bigger match. But yeah, we'll see. So here's something that I felt was a complete waste of fucking time. 6-man tag team match between the OC and the Judgment Day. Because what have we been getting for the past few weeks? Rhea Ripley interferes, costs the OC, and they go, ah, man, somebody's got to do something about Rhea Ripley. And what happened here was Rhea Ripley interfered, cost the OC, and everybody went, ah, man, somebody's got to stop Rhea Ripley. Well, no, nobody came out and
say it right. What did Michael Cole say?
Michael said, somebody has to kick her ass. This is ridiculous. That was the only thing that was interesting about this match, because the rest of it was an exact copy and paste of what we've seen before.
Except that this is the first time they've done a 6-man tag. That's it.
Fuck me, they should have just done it 3 weeks ago then.
Well, the Gallows and Anderson, I think, debuted 3 weeks ago, and then it's been 2 singles matches for Karl ever since. Look, I get where you're going.
Yeah,
and I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying I know you feel like you've seen this 5 times already, but this is actually the first time that they all got in a match together. More importantly, I believe this is the first time that they all won on pay-per-view together.
That's sad if that's true.
Well, because they won the original one with Edge, but that's like the last time they had Edge, and then they lost a bunch of times to the Mysterios. And like the Finn Balor win against Edge in the I Quit, and this match is the first time that they've won 2 things back to back. They're finally starting to feel like a threat.
Where do you think this goes? Because they can't do like I mean, I guess they could technically if they want to just kind of make it a little bit of a mess, but I wouldn't think that this is going to end up being the OC and the Judgment Day, where the OC gets a woman that adds that to the mix, and then they end up doing like a mixed tag War Games match.
I don't think they'll do War Games, but I do expect a mixed tag Survivor Series. And I still
just
think
like a traditional elimination match.
Yeah, but only in this case, like Charlotte, because I think it's Charlotte, and Rhea Ripley can fight to the back. And
you think Charlotte comes out to help the OC?
Yes.
Why?
Because you have a Rhea Ripley problem. Who is the only person who has solved repeatedly Rhea Ripley problems?
I just don't see Charlotte being like, I'm going to help out the OC, be babyface, and do that. I think that's Raquel's spot, and that's where Rhea comes into the other thing. I think that it's kind of like...
The thing stopping me from Raquel is, and granted, she did team with them, or she teamed against Rhea in Mexico, but they were in Mexico. So they were trying to get that, Raquel Rodriguez pop. I think that it'll be Charlotte because it's another big name for Survivor Series. It brings her back in a way that isn't, I'm just going to, hog the spotlight in the title picture. There's a lot of ways that I think it can make sense if it's Charlotte.
The most logical thing to me is Beth. And they keep harping on, like, I'm going to dress up in homage to Beth Phoenix and all. But then I just kind of think...
Beth,
do we kind of need Edge for that? And then we don't have another person to be on the Judgment Day.
You definitely need Edge for that.
Because if it's like Beth, Edge, and the 3 members of the OC against the Judgment Day and Rhea, you need another guy.
Unless Edge is just like, I don't give a fuck. Go ahead, go do your thing with Rhea and team with the OC. I don't give a fuck.
Maybe. Maybe
it could be that way as well.
It would be a little weird if they do, but maybe. Josh in the chat asks, wasn't AJ Styles and Charlotte mixed match challenge team?
They were a mixed match challenge team.
I forgot about that.
And Charlotte has expressed friendliness towards the OC in the past. And it's not like, there isn't the AJ Styles, Ric Flair connection. So you could, if you needed to get around it like that. But I just think she's Rhea Ripley's kryptonite.
Now you said the AJ Styles and Ric Flair connection. I got Rainbow Connection in my head. The AJ Styles. So I just kind of start getting into that. I just hate the idea that this is like, at the end of this, they go, man, Rhea Ripley keeps doing the same thing and everybody continues to not learn a lesson. And I'm assuming on Monday Night Raw, somebody will come out and balance it out. And then that's where they're going to tell the story. But I don't like when a story is being told.
It was stalled. It was very much a stalled story.
I don't like when a story is being stalled in the way that they just go, how about we don't yet? And then you go, yeah, but you need a twist or a hook, or you need something. Like if this would have been, say, and it's lazy and it's cheap and it's half-assed and all the other things that I've criticized some other things with, but at least it's something. If somebody would have come out after the match and fought with Rhea, at least then you tell the story of, even though it's the same outcome and it's the same crap all over again, you took it a step forward.
I'll make the argument that maybe whomever they have, even if it's Raquel, maybe they just didn't want to fly another person over to Saudi.
And then I go, you know what? Maybe you should have booked another match on this card instead to fill in the time. Or, I mean, the match could have been taken off entirely and it could have just been a half hour shorter. I mean, this ended at 3:30 something.
Nah. Saudi likes AJ. Saudi likes the OC. They were into this. Like, they have to give you something. And I don't know. I get what you're saying. You give valid criticisms. I'm just saying that, like, this didn't offend me.
Frankie says the screen is showing up black for him. Is anybody else having this issue? It's showing up totally fine for me on my feed. But let me know if that's
my Peacock feed was having issues all night where, like, the screen kept...
No, for the podcast.
Oh. Let's
saying that the screen's been showing black. It's showing up for me as the Pay-Per-Viewpoint logo and the Crown Jewel
maybe just
thing.
Refresh.
Yeah. Peter is saying that maybe Mia Yim or...
like, why?
I could see potentially Mia Yim coming back and doing something like that.
Yeah, I could maybe, but, like, why?
Tegan Nox, he also suggests, and Chelsea
someone
Green.
that you know can beat up Rhea Ripley. No offense to me, I like Mia Yim a lot, but like Charlotte, she can actually beat her up. You know what I mean? Like, you don't throw Mia Yim into this mix and just be like, well, we have a connection, unless you like literally, and they've been granted all throughout this match. Michael Cole said never open weight champion. Michael Cole said Doc Gallows.
Yeah,
Michael
that's
Cole
funny thing. Said the Bullet Club.
Bullet Club. So maybe you just go, oh well, we know her from Impact Wrestling, and then I go, well, I can't argue. So who knows?
You know, I forgot about the Mia Yim thing, and since I do think that there's a chance that maybe Rhea gets involved in the War Games thing, I mean, maybe there's somebody else in there too. I am seeing some people suggest maybe that they end up doing a different person instead of Rhea for that other person. It's definitely Nikki. It's Damage Control and Nikki and blank. So maybe somebody else gets in there instead.
Why does it have to be Nikki?
I mean, she's been involved from, the past few weeks.
It could be Damage Control, Sasha and Naomi.
It could be that, but if they do that, then why are they doing the whole Nikki thing, Because
we're utilizing multiple women.
I mean, you could have 15 other people in there, but it wouldn't make sense.
I'm just saying, like, let's not make it a foregone conclusion that it's Nikki.
I think that would make a lot of sense, but maybe they want to throw somebody else in there. I mean, this is all kind of confusing, but we'll probably figure it out on Monday night. This is not confusing at all. What's the next match? Braun Strowman against Omos. Two huge dudes, giants, just slugging away like a Colossus. And
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the type of match that certain people will be looking for if they're looking for certain things. Like, obviously, the idea of this match of like the two lumbering giants is not the same as, Kurt Angle versus Bryan Danielson, or it's not the cruiserweights going around and doing the flippy. But when you know going into it that you're not going to get that type of match and you're going to get the giant match, all things considered, I thought it was rock solid. They did a good job making Omos look strong. He's slamming Strowman like he's nothing. He derails the train spot. And then at the end, Strowman hits a power slam for the win. So it ends up being like the best of both worlds. Strowman
like
keeps
a really quick, like, haha, I got a very lucky break and now I won. I liked it.
Yeah, so
I have nothing else to say about it. It was perfectly serviceable.
Kinda like that. It sounds kind of, dismissive to just be like, then that's whatever, and you move on. But what else were you really hoping for? This wasn't going to be the match of the year, most likely. And I don't think that this had enough of a storyline to really build anything around where it's like, they should have done this twist, they should have done that, maybe this should go in this direction, whatever. I was just pretty much looking for Strowman wins, keeps his momentum going. Omos doesn't look completely weak. And then they did it. So it's like, okay, well, there you go. You did the thing. Hard to argue against it.
Yeah.
Proper balance and all. Yeah. So it is funny that when you see the tail of the tape and it's like, all right, 6'8" against 7'3", 335 pounds against 416. And I'm like, I can't even imagine being that big,
I chuckled at Wade Barrett goes, it's a Braun Strowman, and he's the little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Cole specifically saying, I think 3 times in it, about how Omos had put his hand over Michael Cole's face, and he's like, it's like a frying pan.
Like a skillet, and Triple H is behind me laughing at me.
Yeah. Huge. How people, you see like the Great Khali or somebody like that, they'll put their hand up, and it's just like, goddamn, man, I don't think that that's like as big as what, like, I had like a baseball mitt. It's probably smaller than that, but it's what it is. Strowman gets the win. Totally fine in my book. See what other things are going on in this chat here. Guy123 says, I hope that Lashley gets his win back. Jeb says they haven't played the Lita card in a while. Maybe we'll do that in the future. I still think she'll pop up at the Royal Rumble again. But
that's a good one.
Marquis says it's fine for me for the the Braun and Omos match, I'm assuming. Let's go over to the Usos against the Brawling Brutes in a match that was pretty obvious what it was going to lead, but I thought it was fun on the meantime.
This was a very fun match.
Yeah, they had a good set of near falls. Fans really, in particular, the one Ridge Holland one, I can't remember what movie did, but I think it was the White Noise. They were really like, oh my God, the match is going to end right here.
Was it the finisher where like he hits, I think it's like almost like a Michinoku driver, and Pete Dunne kicks him? Because that looked like, oh shit, that's their finish. This might be the end of the match.
Might have been that one. I'm misremembering which one it was that got the biggest pop, but I know that there was at least one time Ridge Holland was going for that pin and people were jumping out of their seats because they thought the titles were going to change hands. So that's all you can really expect, you know? I mean, the Brawling Brutes weren't going to win, and they didn't, but they had a fun match. And yeah, at the end of it, they ended up doing a 1D off the ropes, which signifies that it's like, you got to do a little bit more to beat these guys, and they look pretty good in the end.
Let's talk about the news that came out of this match, though. Jey Uso's hurt. He is? Potentially have a broken wrist.
Oh. I didn't see anything about that.
Tony, well, you were spaced out. I forgive you. But, like, he came up with his wrist entirely taped, and Michael Cole's like, yeah, he's going to get an MRI on Monday. He's pretty sure he has a broken wrist.
Huh. Yeah, I must have been typing out something at that time. Didn't catch that.
Yep. So
that sucks.
It's interesting because on the one hand, it's a broken wrist and wouldn't advise it for everybody, but maybe this is something you just sort of work through. On the other hand, Bloodline's big. Maybe you can freebird it. And then on the other hand, well, in this case, it'd probably be Sammy, wouldn't it?
Sammy Sikoa.
And in this case, like, maybe the New Day just beats them. You know?
I wouldn't be opposed to it. That's the thing. I would be okay with them having Sikoa temporarily replace him. I'd be okay with Sami Zayn stepping in for a week if they need to just do that, and then they kind of just wait a little bit here and there. I would be totally okay with the New Day beating them and just being like, ha, we got you fuckers. And then you can put the titles back on the Usos in a few weeks or so, you know? There's a couple ways around it. I wouldn't be opposed to them dropping those belts and getting them back. That's where I'm a little bit more lenient. If they were to just do it for the sake of it, then that's, you know, then we're going back to the other thing. We talked about it enough.
Good match.
If he misses War Games, that's going to suck.
Yeah, that changes a lot.
Because then what do? You know?
But I think he might just try to work through it. Again, not something you advise for a lot of people, but they're white hot right now. I don't know if you really take time off.
Is it Jay or is it Jimmy?
Jay.
All right, so I mean that could lead to more of that discussion with Sami Zayn being like, "Hey, if you're not able to do it, buddy, I can step in," and you know, Roman Reigns can be like, "Now you're getting injured. You're causing these problems."
It's gonna be interesting, but yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Hopefully, he won't be actually screwing up any of these plans. I mean, not like he's screwing it up. Like he's like, you know, hey jerk, what did you do? Like, you know, it's not like he got a DUI and that screwed it up or something.
I just didn't want to talk about this match and not talk about easily the most important thing coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I didn't catch. So if you didn't bring that up, we would have skipped right entirely over it. Somebody left a comment on the page on smarkoutmoment.com. It's anonymous, so I can't give them credit for it. But they said, here's a fun fact. After Seth Rollins missed tonight's show, Bobby Lashley is the only wrestler to have competed in every single Saudi Arabia event.
That's interesting. Huh. I did notice midway through the show, I realized, because they're showing a vignette for Rollins, I'm like, oh shit, he's not here. Like, that's weird because Rollins doesn't usually miss.
Let's see. We got next was the Raw Women's Championship last woman standing match. Bianca Belair successfully retaining over Bayley in a good match that also was, you know, to not beat down the same point a million times, but how many times does Bianca Belair have to beat Bayley? Holy shit. This is the second year worth of Bianca Belair beats Bayley, and then she just keeps getting title shots and all that. But was I not right that they would just keep title?
Fuck off! Was I not right? Listen, Tony.
You're gonna hear it again later. So fast forward a few minutes.
Let's focus on this right now because this is stupid. I understand why. I understand that Bayley. We do the whole. Well, as smart fans, we know. Like, look, I get it. Bayley's elevating Bianca, but we're at a point where Bianca needs to lose. And I got news for you. If Charlotte Flair is the person who does it, it's going to make everybody groan that much more.
And it's probably going to happen at WrestleMania.
It's exactly what's going to happen. And then it's going to become a conversation it shouldn't become, instead of just being like, let Bayley beat her. She just came back. Established damage control. Like, such a layup. I don't know why they're just so intent on having Bianca be this unstoppable champion. She's lost one major match. And it was, technically she lost a couple of those to Becky. I was going to say she only lost to Becky when Becky got the jump on her. And I just think, like, come on. What are we doing? Mm-hmm. There's no reason she needed to win here. It makes damage control look stupid. I don't want to see this feud continue. Because what is she fighting Bianca for? You lost twice. You're going to go into a fourth pay-per-view match already with this. For what? You lost.
She keeps losing, and then they keep going. Yeah, and it's the same thing as we were talking about earlier.
It wasn't as bad as last month where Bianca literally took out all of damage control by herself. But still, like, come on. And it's a last man standing or last woman standing. You have every excuse in the rule book. Bayley could have duct taped her feet to the, she could have done anything and it would just been, oh, Bayley cheated. Cool. I hated this. Simply because Bayley, I hated the results of this match. The match itself was fun. And it's a type of match that Saudi Arabia will never get to see. And they did a lot of fun spots. They kind of moved in slow motion in the sense that, like...
the golf cart in particular in slow motion, that was terrible.
The golf cart in slow motion.
That was really bad. For anybody who missed it, Bayley gets into a golf cart and starts... I wouldn't even say she starts speeding towards Bianca because she barely let off the brake and then hit the brake. She slowed down way before coming anywhere close to Bianca, who very casually stepped to the left and then just was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to fight you. And then puts her on top of the golf cart and very slowly goes down the ramp and then they walk away. I don't know who the fuck booked that, but that producer, come on, man. What was the point? It was more fun to do the thing with the case where Belair got put in that like trunk and she had to get out of that and she got her ponytail trapped, unfortunately. But that was like...
That was funny because...
That worked. And then you do the golf cart and it completely ruins it. Yeah.
I just think... Fun match. They have great chemistry. Yada, yada. Bayley should have won. Because you're now in a position where Charlotte Flair is going to beat you. And then everybody's going to complain that Charlotte gets to beat everybody. I would not have gone with Bianca winning.
I guess 5 thinks that it's 100% going to be Charlotte. Frankie says, I think Bianca will beat her. To be honest, beat Charlotte. Shout out to Frankie for a good pun here. He said that Jey Uso needs to put on some of that Usi hot. I like it. I thought that this was going to be one of those big brawl segments, and then that's why they had Nikki and Alexa and Asuka and all, and they just didn't come out.
Another thing, they just didn't come out. Like,
that was kind of... I don't understand why they didn't.
Why didn't... realistically, if we're talking realistically, if wrestling was real for 5 seconds, why didn't Damage Control come out and just, like...
attack Bianca from the start?
And just jump on top of the case and just not allow her to open it?
Well, like Emilio says, why didn't she just lock the case?
Or why didn't you just throw her whole body weight on it? Like,
yeah, because on that.
Something.
Peter asks, was it me or was Bayley's ass showing through her clothes the entire match? I don't remember seeing anything that stood out to me.
I did see a little bit of Aunt Pam, but let's leave it at that.
Don't let the people in the production booth know that. They wouldn't show any of it. So the title stays where it is, and the feud continues the same way that it was last year. Bianca continually beats Bayley, and then they continue to feud. And War Games probably isn't for anything. There likely isn't any stakes attached to it, but it's just going to continue for another couple more weeks.
Hear me out. Here's what I would do. I'd find a way to do the women's War Games match without Bianca, and I'd have Bianca defend the title.
Against who?
Nikki, fucking anyone, like legit anyone, just to not have her fight Bayley again.
I'm not in the slightest bit interested in a War Games match with the other people involved and not Bianca, you know?
Well, we're assuming.
I mean, that's like not to crap on like Asuka and Alexa and all them. Like they're good performers, but the way that they've set this up is like
this won't be Ronda and Shayna and Damage Control against like Liv, Candice, Asuka, Bliss, and insert person.
They could do all sorts of weird things like that, yeah. I don't know. I guess it'll be one of those things that if they announce that, we might go, yeah, that made perfect sense, or wait a minute, what the fuck? And then we have to kind of recalibrate afterward and figure out what's happening. But
I mean, look, realistically, Bianca should of course be in the War Games. I'm just trying to think of a way to have her do something else that gets her moving on.
How about we do this? We have the women on Raw against the women on SmackDown in a War Games.
I honest to God would rather anything else. Like, I'm so glad we're not doing Brand Warfare this year.
So I told you so about the Bianca thing.
Are we talking about Wyatt already?
Let's go and talk about that. Yeah, because you know how the last however many years where Bray Wyatt comes out, he says a bunch of cryptic nonsense. He gets some sort of otherworldly thing pops out as well to interrupt him and says a bunch of cryptic nonsense, and then nothing happens. Yeah, that.
All right, so this is all Bray Wyatt has been for the past few weeks.
Few years.
Coming back. Not a few years, because this one's different in the sense that, like, The Fiend didn't talk back to him. Nothing else was talking back to him in the way that, like, this thing is. Bray Wyatt is seemingly literally in a feud with himself right now.
I still think, and Frankie just put this in the chat too, it sounds like it should be Bo Dallas playing that part.
That's what I want to get into, because they did actually do something that they have yet to do with Bray Wyatt. They had Bray Wyatt acknowledge that he comes from a wrestling family.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting more and more of just, okay, we're still calling him Bray Wyatt, but this is more of Wyndham. So now it's really feeling like, oh man, it'd be kind of cool. I'll forgive all this nonsense if it's like Bo Dallas gets a nice run as a top heel against Bray Wyatt. But for this promo, outside of mentioning that he's from a wrestling family, which I really like, because it's a different wrinkle to the character, a lot of the same.
Shit or get off the pot.
Although I will say this. My social media feed, I don't know yours, was very much, all right, it's kind of the same thing. What are we doing here?
I saw those responses, and then I saw responses to them of, in particular, one person. I think that their account was Marvel Wrestling or Wrestling Marvel or something. Adamantly been like, fuck you, pal, I like this. Like, you miserable, lifeless piece of shit. You fucking don't like the Bray Wyatt. And it's like, wow, okay, first off, I don't ever approach to that kind of level when I'm like, if people go, I love the Bray Wyatt stuff, I'm not like, you need to burn in hell. It's like, because it's, come on, it's fucking wrestling. Relax. But that seemed to be the case. It was a lot of people going, I really got a guy having to like wrestle or something's got to happen. And then people responding to that and being like, you're what's wrong with wrestling fans. And, you're just impatient. It's only been 4 weeks, bro. And whatever. And it's
okay, I'm going through and reading several comments that are like, anyone want to see him wrestle? Next comment, why would he need to wrestle right now? Enjoy the story. But it's barely moving along. And then someone else replies, no, it isn't. It's only been a month. Sounds like you're what's wrong with wrestling. Okay.
So it seems like it's that big divide, which I've said before, every time that this stuff comes up, if they do something different and they do something interesting, I'm interested in it. Like when Bray Wyatt came back, I was like, oh, man, I really hope that this goes somewhere and it's not the same thing. And then it's been a month of the same shit. And I'm like, fuck, and do something. Clear,
I'm not against the idea that he hasn't wrestled.
He doesn't need to have like a squash match for it to be like, okay, now he got in the ring and he beat fucking Humberto Carrillo. Like, yeah.
I'm worried that Uncle Howdy is just going to be the latest Bray Wyatt character instead of somebody that Bray Wyatt can fight. If it's someone that Bray Wyatt can fight, we're building to like a major WrestleMania match, I'm okay with that. If this is just the new persona of Bray Wyatt,
I'll be real annoyed about that.
Then I'm not thrilled about that, because it's like my favorite Bray Wyatt was just the Swamp guy. I like I like that.
Yeah, I like Bray more than the Fiend, for sure.
Yeah, I want this to be someone that Bray is going to fight.
And I also
Bo Dallas, great.
Right. Like I want it to be like a Bo Dallas versus Bray Wyatt feud. But I also go, if you are waiting until Survivor Series to do the match, maybe you shouldn't have necessarily had a big thing of Extreme Rules be Bray Wyatt comes back and we'll sit on this for 7 weeks. Maybe you wait until you debut him at Crown Jewel. Or maybe you wait until 2 weeks ago and you can save yourself 2 or 3 weeks worth of this. Like, stretching things out can be done, and then people don't notice that it's stretched out if it's good. Look at like the Mega Powers. That's Mania to Mania. But it was a different time frame where you didn't have to do weekly stuff that would end up being the same type of content, but you end up going from Mania to Mania on that, and then people go, that story ends up working. But if they would have done the Mega
story,
if you do the Mega Powers now, my God, that would have been the most exhausting thing in the world.
Yeah, because they would have had him openly admit in like May of the previous year, hey, I don't like the Hulk Hogan doing, and then you would drag it out until like November.
Right. Then they would do a match at SummerSlam, and it would end in a DQ or something. And then it would be, well, they're going to be on opposite teams for Survivor Series. And then at the Royal Rumble, we're going to do the rematch, but the rematch is going to end in a double count out. And then we're going to do it at Mania. Then it'd be like, my God, I'm sick and tired of this. But
as I always say with these things, this storyline will lend itself to rewatches in the future where you can compile the whole story together and you could just watch promo after promo so you're not watching, the 2-hour program on top of that. These things get much better when you get to rewatch them without all of the excess around it.
There shouldn't be a booking philosophy of the best way you could enjoy this feud. Let's assume that they do like Bo Dallas and the Uncle Howdy thing versus Bray at like Survivor Series. Best case scenario, they're going to go, if you didn't watch anything about this, but you watched the promo and the pre-show and then the match, there you go. We boiled it all down to the most important things, and you watched the 5 minutes that you needed to watch, but you spent 2 hours doing that over and over and over again. Yeah.
Look, my final thoughts on this. I like the segment. I like that he's acknowledging he's from a wrestling family. I even kind of like this Uncle Howdy thing. Saudi was chanting Uncle Howdy. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, show me that Uncle Howdy is a separate entity and a person in his own body that will eventually attack Bray Wyatt so we can have a fight. And then we're good.
So chat's kind of echoing some of the same points. Josh says maybe it's Bo Dallas versus Bray Wyatt at Mania. Holy fuck, I don't want them to drag this out that long. My God. It'd be crazy.
It could be. So the reason it's crazy is because of the way television is structured. But they could theoretically wait till Mania.
I really hope not. Marquis says, I love Bray, but this was the time for some sort of clarity, and yeah, didn't get it. Frankie says, I agree, it's getting frustrated, but like him or not, Bray is so over. That's why a lot of people make the excuses. They go, yeah, but he's getting reactions. And then you go, yeah, but dwindling reactions over time. And you don't want to, I don't know why this is the analogy I'm going up with. The first Transformers movie is pretty damn good. And then it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Where
Transformers 2 was good.
They make, I don't like a lot of Transformers 2. They made a lot of money in like the fourth movie, but everybody hated it. And then they made less money in the fifth one and less. And, you know, so you don't want to overstay your welcome when you're doing something positive. You want to keep the momentum going, and just to be like, hey, still getting positive reactions, go, but now you're seeing the criticisms online. And the longer you wait, the more that's going to kind of balance out towards the opposite direction, you know?
But I think, and this is me already looking ahead, but I'm starting to feel like for the way that I want this story told, I would have debuted him or re-debuted him at Survivor Series and then had Uncle Howdy eliminate him from the Royal Rumble, and then you go to Mania with it.
Yeah, that's maybe a better way of doing that. But I guess we'll see. Let's go to the final part of this, which was the undisputed WWE Universal Championship match. Logan Paul against Roman Reigns, which was about as good as a match as you can expect from this.
Way better than I thought it would be, quite frankly.
Logan Paul handles himself pretty well in the ring, and he's able to do a buckshot lariat much better than CM Punk.
You really like that line because you've said it a couple of times already. Yeah,
he pulled that off and didn't get injured, didn't fall down, didn't seemingly upset, a lot of people. I wrote down on here when Logan Paul was going for the sweet chin music that he stopped shorter than Bayley did with the golf cart.
Yeah, he really did.
A bunch of frog splashes, one of them through the commentary table, a couple lucky punches.
Cool, he filmed himself doing it, and he's uploaded the video since, and it looks pretty cool, actually.
I'll have to check that out a little bit later. Couple near falls, too. Crowd really got into that.
Yeah, I expected the first near fall, because it's what I told you would happen, where it's like, you got the shot, and now, okay, we got a near fall. And I told you, because we were already talking about it, when I said, okay, guillotine him. Call it a day. And no, they extended it a lot further. They had Jake Paul. They had the entire bloodline. They had like Logan Paul's entourage of guys that were in the front row. Got their asses kicked by the Usos. Jake Paul and Solo had a standoff. I didn't hate it. I really wasn't entertained by a lot of what happened here. And then he got speared.
Where do you think they end up going with the Jake Paul stuff?
Oh, he's going to be a wrestler, yeah.
Do you think he's just going to kind of join in the same? And
I wouldn't have him fight Solo. I would have had, I would do Jake Paul, Logan Paul versus the Usos if I wasn't so dead set on seeing Sami and Kevin against the Usos.
And again, I don't want to see that stretch out to WrestleMania either. So part of me kind of thinks maybe the plan wasn't necessarily to do the Bloodline in the War Games match. It doesn't seem like it would make sense because it's like, you got to do it, but maybe they kind of planned on doing.
I don't want to see the Bloodline against Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and two other guys. I don't even know who those guys were that they got their asses kicked.
Imagine if this is just the way that things get snake bit, where we end up getting like Jey Uso can't participate, so it's just the 4 members of the Bloodline, and it's the Paul brothers and 2 others. Yeah, that'd be so weak.
That's not what you want to see.
No.
But I want to shout out a moment that they had in the ring because Roman's got him in a chin lock, and he's talking shit. He's like, "It's over. No more YouTubers here." So, and Logan is responding. Like Logan is like, "No, we're coming." And Roman keeps naming names like KSI. I think he said Mr. Beast, and he's like, "Oh, we're coming. The revolution is coming." I thought that was fun. Like more people need to talk shit in the middle of moves.
Yeah, they should be doing that because that's character work.
Yeah. So like shout out to them for doing a spot that you wouldn't normally see in a match.
So overall, I mean, I'm not a Logan Paul follower.
Oh, this is thumbs up. Everything he's done in WWE has been thumbs up for me.
That's the thing is, yeah, despite the fact that I wouldn't have ever been like, what, you should sign that Logan Paul guy because of his whatever he does. I don't think I've seen a single video, but he's proven himself here and there. And, by the next match that we get, I'm going to probably end up repeating this again for the next, 5 months, it seems, until we get to WrestleMania. I not only don't want to do the whole Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar thing all over again, and I don't want to see the Logan Paul thing with Roman Reigns all over again and all that. I really think that the match to do is, for Hollywood, Logan Paul versus Brock Lesnar.
I think you could. I think you really could. It'd be a lot of fun, too. I think next time we see Logan, it's in the Royal Rumble. And then I think whomever he eliminates in the Rumble will be his WrestleMania opponent.
And that's where I was kind of hoping that Brock would come in there.
And that could easily be a way to do it.
Yeah, Brock gets eliminated by Logan Paul.
And then Brock loses his mind.
Brock goes crazy, yeah. Beats the crap out of Logan Paul. And then beats him at WrestleMania. Somebody else eliminates Logan Paul. Anybody could eliminate Logan Paul in the Royal Rumble. It wouldn't matter. Just have I don't know, Seth Rollins dumps him over.
I was going to say who's the Intercontinental Champion, but no, not Gunther. I don't want Gunther, Logan Paul. Maybe Seth Rollins.
What about Gunther and Logan Paul instead of Gunther?
No, not even Gunther. Maybe Seth Rollins if you want to give him a title, and a win at WrestleMania.
I mean, he'll be United States champion.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So that's
Logan Paul can be the champion of the United States. I believe that.
Oh, you mean like to carry that over and do that? I'm just still assuming that it's Cody Rhodes against Seth.
I'm not assuming anything with anyone that isn't on camera until they're on camera.
I am fully assuming things and making an ass out of everybody. I don't care.
Honestly, though, good show. We're seeing peak era Roman Reigns. He's getting way into himself. He's just like talking shit to the camera. He's just going on these rants. Paul Heyman's out here going, "I love you, my Tribal Chief. We all love you, my Tribal Chief." I'm having fun. This is the most fun happening in wrestling right now is the Bloodline. So good for them.
Yeah, Bloodline is great. I really hope this all doesn't get spiraling outward. In the grand scheme of Crown Jewel, a third of it was great, a third of it was shit, and a third of it was just okay. It really kind of balanced out like that to me.
I'd say solid C show, and I wouldn't say go out here to see anything except for Roman and Logan because that's a fun spectacle. And yeah, good show.
Well, that's basically all the breakdown that we can do for the most part, since the rest of it is Fallout that hasn't happened yet, and we can look forward.
We can talk about this real quick. What are your thoughts on? You didn't see it, I'm sure, but I'll tell you now. Sasha and Naomi are back in the intro.
Good, they should be. They should be coming back.
Yeah.
No reason why they shouldn't. Screw you guys. Come back. Maybe that's plays into the War Games thing. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Monday night will probably change a few things around because they do still have to start actually announcing things for War Games because Survivor Series is November. So
you've got 3 weeks to build it, so you need to start now.
3 weeks to at least tell us what the card is. They've done more than enough to build a lot of this. They just have to confirm matches,
Yeah, I'm more interested in Survivor Series than I am in the World Cup, but we'll see how that turns out.
This World Cup thing, I don't know what they're planning on doing for that. That seemed completely out of nowhere. Well, I mean, the World Cup's going on, so they're just going, World Cup.
Yeah, and the World Cup's on Fox.
Yeah, but
they're doing a tie-in.
It's kind of strange that they're just like it's the SmackDown World Cup, and we're doing that. By the way, we're doing Santos Escobar versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and neither of them are in the World Cup. What?
Yeah, that's
you got the Japanese guy and the Mexican guy against each other, and it's not even a tournament match? Question marks.
That is a little stupid.
Maybe they'll announce that as like a thing that they just didn't bother to, you know, some kind of wires got crossed or something. But those were two that I was like, well, they're pretty obviously going to be potential contenders, right? And there's been no confirmation whatsoever. So Ludwig Kaiser wins. Either fashion, we'll talk about that down the line too. Next week, we've got, you know, the hot tags will probably be part of talking about the World Cup thing, because we'll be heading into that. Champs Giving tournament's going on right now for anybody who wants to vote on that. What would you bring back for a retired championship in WWE? Next week, I'll probably record a little bit of a dark cast. Maybe we'll do something else along those lines, but we are going to do another Time Machine Dream Team, where we're going to take the people that we had on the worst all-time roster draft, the mock draft that we did before, and we're going to try to figure out how do we make Survivor Series teams based off of them. So we're going to go gimmicky and silly with the, you know, what different foreign fanatics can we make and all that. Because I'm definitely going to pitch that again, because it's such an easy thing to do.
Cops and robbers.
Yeah, the cops and robbers might be a thing. Stay tuned for that. There might be one based off of the idea of you can maybe eat them. Meat's on the list. I'm just saying. So if you want to follow everything that's happening, of course, go to smarkoutmoment.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at smarkoutmoment. Make sure that you go and click on all the YouTube stuff and listen elsewhere on all those different platforms and give us like the star rating things and whatever it is that they've got on them. Make sure that you go to fanboysanonymous.com to check out everything happening there too. And, you know, of course, like and follow and share all those things the same way that you would do. Patreon, the channel membership, the Redbubble and TeePublic. It's all pretty much exactly the same. You just replace Smark Out Moment with Fanboys Anonymous. And you can go to amangotree.com and see all these different links and more, including things like my Letterboxd and my LinkedIn, where you can do the same as everybody else on LinkedIn. And you can say, hey, would you like to, not the marry me part. Thankfully, that's the major thing I got from LinkedIn. That's positive. She's working on some art behind me and probably doesn't realize that I'm talking about her right now, but she's adorable and I love her. Now, the other LinkedIn thing is just people going, would you like to hire me to promote your podcast and give you marketing tips and SEO? And then I go, no, I'm listed as open for hire, not hiring you. Fuck off. But if you want to join that or whatever, it's all under amangotree.com, and you can follow the other stuff at Tony Mango and so on and so forth. Find out other things that I'm posting on eWrestling News and Bleacher Report and such. Like tomorrow morning, I think it is, it's due. I'm going to be doing a breakdown of this pay-per-view again with the best and worst booking decisions. So, yeah, maybe my opinions might change a little bit by tomorrow.
No, they won't.
They probably won't, but yeah, maybe I'll be a little bit more resigned to like, look, maybe some people like it this way, even though I don't, or something. But you can follow all that stuff, and you can also follow Rob.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Twitter is the main one, because that's where I have those follows. There's also Instagram and Twitch, and you can follow my work on Fightful, WrestleZone, and of course, Smark Out Moment, including the Triple Threat, which I participate in weekly.
All right, everyone, the sirens are out. That means that we got to end this. We want to thank you for tuning in. We want to thank you for all your support, all your chats, and everything else that goes along those lines. And we will see you next time around with the Time Machine Dream Team. It's going to be the next one. Yep. So adios for now, but we'll see you in a few days. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we are being counted out.